Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Text 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this first day of December 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And just to note, this is the actual day, the anniversary of the advent of the Bhagavad Gita. So all the more reason to study the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So we're reading from chapter 13 called Nature, the Enjoying and Consciousness, reading Bhagavad Gita as it is by commentary and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is December 1st, 2025, bottom of page 554. Okay. Upadrashtana manta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto Dehe Asmin Purusha Paraha Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Go ahead, Nilesh. Upadrashnana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha Upadrashnana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Ladies. Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Upadrashtana Mantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Bhakta Chad, you there?
Upadrasthana Mantacha
Upadrashtana Mantacha
Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha
Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha
Paramatmeti Chapyukto
Paramatmeti Chapyukto
Dehesmin Purusha Paraha.
Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Vanessa?
There's other Prabhus on.
Okay.
Vanessa's not on.
Who? Anyone else there?
Dr. Ferdy.
Go ahead.
Upadrasthana Mantacha
Upadrashtana Mantacha
Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha
Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha
Paramatmeti Chapyukto
Paramatmeti Chapyukto
Dehismin Purusha Paraha.
Dehismin Purusha Paraha. All right, we better go on. Word by words. Upadrashta, overseer. Anumanta, permitter. Cha, also. Bharta, master. Bhokta, supreme enjoyer. Maha Ishvaraha, the supreme lord. Padma Atma, the super soul. Iti, also. Cha, and. Api, indeed. Uktaha is said. Dehe, in the body. Asmin, this. Purushaha, enjoyer. Paraha, transcendental. Okay. Translation. Translation. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul. Purport. It is stated here that the Supersoul, who is always with the individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. He is not an ordinary living entity. Because the monist philosophers take the knower of the body to be one, they think that there is no difference between the super soul and the individual soul. To clarify this, the Lord says that He is represented as the Paramatma in every body. In every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is para, transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of a particular field, but the super soul is present not as finite enjoyer, nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness, overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer. His name is Paramatma, not Atma, and he is transcendental. It is distinctly clear that the Atma and the Paramatma are different. The super soul, the Paramatma, has legs and hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because the Paramatma is the Supreme Lord, he is present within to sanction the individual soul's desiring material enjoyment. Without the sanction of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. The individual is bhukta, or the sustained, and the Lord is bhokta, or the maintainer. There are innumerable living entities, and he is staying in them as a friend. The fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has the tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity can be situated either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. As long as he is conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord, as his friend, the Supersoul, stays with him just to get him to return to the spiritual energy. The Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy, but due to his minute independence, the individual entity is continually rejecting the association of the spiritual light. This misuse of independence is the cause of his material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and from without. From without, he gives instructions as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. And from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. Quote, "Just give it up and turn your faith toward me. Then you will be happy," he says. Thus, the intelligent person who places his faith in the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins to advance toward a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Salakayat Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, as always, it's nice to view these verses in context. Now, the previous verse, I must admit, is my favorite verse in this whole chapter. It just condenses so much. Purushok pakatistohi bhunkte pakatijan gunam karanang gurasangosya sarasad yoni janmasu. The living entity. The living entity in the material nature thus follows the ways of life and join the three modes of nature. We change that word to experiencing. I think we can say from our own experience that sometimes it's not very enjoyable what happens when we get entangled in the mode of passion and ignorance. The living entity material nature thus follows the ways of life, experiencing the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. So what this says, critically, is that we are making our destiny at every moment in this life. We are creating a certain mentality by how we choose to use our senses, where we direct our attention, everything that we do. It's all recorded, right? Much of it is in the subconscious, but it's still in our consciousness. And as we learn very distinctly in the 15th chapter, the process of transmigration is nicely explained there, that the total aggregate of your desires, your mentality, your karma, all of that is part of your subtle body. It's there. It's not destroyed when the body is destroyed. The subtle body is not destroyed, the mind, intelligence, and ego, and that's where all of this resides. So, and then when we leave the body, we don't have any will anymore. We're at the complete mercy of our reactions to what we've done and the consciousness we've cultivated. And it's higher forces, the super soul, are deciding exactly which body we're going to get. In fact, it's already decided. By the time you leave your body, your destiny is made. So here it says, the cause of good and bad births, sadasad yoni janmasu, being born as from the womb of a dog, or from the womb of a devotee mother, which is the most auspicious, is all a result of our own activity. It's our will. So we as Purusha, now that itself is an interesting term when referring to the living entity, because we are by nature Prakriti. We're energy. We're not the energetic. The supreme energetic is Krishna. So he's called the Parama Purusha. But when the energy, marginal energy, tries to enjoy, we're called Purusha in this context. We can't really be ultimately Purushas. It's self-defeating. Krishna is the Purusha. When we take that mentality, and take our pleasure wholly and solely in giving the Supreme Purusha, the Supreme Lord Krishna pleasure, that's our perfection. That's the spiritual world. All the not just the living entities, but also the rivers and the trees and the ground and everything is alive there, conscious, and it's all completely focused on pleasing Krishna with a certain rasa, a certain relationship. You see, and we have that. That is our swarup siddhi. And that's the definition of mukti as given in the second canon of Srimad Bhagavatam. The second canon of Srimad Bhagavatam, it contains one of the chapters, like a table of contents, 10 different subject matters in the Bhagavatam that are dealt with the creation and the manvantaras and all these things. And one of them is mukti, and it defines what each of them is. So, does anyone know that half a verse that defines what mukti is? Muktir hit banyata rupam swarupena vibhastiti. Very nice to know that, because mukti is there's a battle going on. Probably from the first page of the Bhagavatam, especially, Prabhupada wrote that in India, and it's a constant battle between the impersonalists and the personalists, between the Mayavadis and the devotees. And you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it happens right there. Chapter 7 of the Adi Lila recounts Lord Chaitanya's, after he took sannyas, he went to Benares, and he was just dancing and chanting, spreading Sankirtan. But that was the home of the Mayavadis, Prakashananda Saraswati, thousands and thousands of disciples. And he was an official Mayavadis. They would read Vedanta Sutra all day, like that. So, and Lord Chaitanya, you have to know this, there was no formal sannyas within the Vaishnava community at that time. If you wanted to renounce, you took Babaji. You went to Vrindavan, before that, like Madhavendra Puri, before Lord Chaitanya. He was just wandering, and mostly bhajan and andi. But Lord Chaitanya wanted to preach, and that sannyasa is meant for that, for traveling and preaching like that. So he took sannyas from Mayavadi, but he himself was, of course, the supreme bhakta of bhaktas. So he's spreading the chanting, the Yuga Dharma, Sankirtan. He had thousands of people chanting in the streets of Benares. And they weren't, not every citizen was a Mayavadi, so, died in the womb. So he was criticized. That Prakashananda was criticized. Just see this so-called sannyasi, he's not studying Vedanta Sutra with us all day like he should be. So, who is it, Murari Gupta, Chandrasekhar, they were hosting Lord Chaitanya there in Benares. And they said, oh, we can't stand it, to hear this blasphemy is going on all the time. And people are repeating it, Prakashananda saying it, repeating. So can you please go and, set him right, So Lord Chaitanya didn't want to associate with the Mayavadis, but he did in this occasion for his disciples. And So he goes there. It's a wonderful. Now you should know that Prabhupada regarded this chapter of the CC so important that it was published before any of the rest of the book. It came out as a single chapter. I was there. I did a little proofreading. Chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, because the chapter begins with the description of the Panchatattva, but then it moves to this, interaction of Lord Chaitanya with the Mayavadis. So, why it's so important? Because Prabhupada, he felt that, coming from India, he felt this was an important part of the mission, of to do battle with the Mayavadis. And so he continued that in America, because he found varieties of impersonalism in America as well, Not so much official, Mayavad, but. So he published it first, and there's extensive purports. So what happens is Lord Chaitanya, he comes in, and he takes a very humble role. He washes his feet, and there's an area where you wash your feet and like that. And then he sits down there, which you don't do. That's an impure place. All the feet have been washed there. He sits down. And the Prakashananda and his followers, and then he starts glowing, with Brahma Jyoti, if you read it. And they're all impressed with that. They just, oh, this must be, Narayan, Om Namo Narayan, because they call each other Narayan. So that kind of put him up, and they said, oh, Maharaj, please come sit with us over here. So Lord Chaitanya took a very humble role, he's doing this whole thing. So why do you always, do this chanting and so emotional? Why don't you come and sit and study Vedanta Sutra with us? So Lord Chaitanya said, but it wasn't true. This was a little story he made up, believe me. That his spiritual master, who remembers what the name of his spiritual master was? Lord Chaitanya, that he took initiation from. Ishvara Puri, a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And so, he was taking sannyas, and he said that he wanted to study the Vedanta Sutra. He said, "You're not qualified to study Vedanta Sutra." And then he taught him that famous verse we all know, right? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gataranya. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found. But to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, oh Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever under your lotus feet bow. So Lord Chaitanya said, he taught me this verse, and I'm following it, you see. But then he said, but I think at that point he suggested that he could maybe say something on Vedanta. So he started to, teach the actual commentary or meaning of Vedanta Sutra, which is Bhagavatam, which is total personal, and he's describing it. And he was so skillful and intelligent, because they were accusing him of not, being an intellectual. You're just chanting and dancing, emotional. So he says, if you like, I can say something on Vedanta Sutra. So he started, but he's my pundit. He's super, so he's teaching the proper understanding of Vedanta Sutra, which is bhakti. That's why we have Bhakti Vedanta. It's Prabhupada's name. And they were, spellbound, and they were completely converted. So he converts Prakashananda, he becomes a full-on Bhakta, and then of course all his thousands of followers become Bhakta. So then you can imagine the kirtan party they're having now. So, but in that explanation of Vedanta Sutra, there is many nice purports, mostly quoting Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary. So Prabhupada is honoring his own spiritual master by quoting all of that, and the book came out. So back to our study of Bhagavad Gita here. So the whole idea in 22 is that we are acting as Purusha, and we're in Prakriti, and we're experiencing the 3 modes of nature. As we associate with those modes, guna sangha, that is the karana, that is the cause of whether we get a good or bad birth, subhuman birth, or the best birth. Best birth is no birth at all, the best in the spiritual world. But if you don't go back to Godhead, then we get a birth that is conducive to following bhakti, a devotee family like that, which Prabhupada was born in, and so forth. So that's this verse. Now the next verse Krishna is describing, now you notice he doesn't refer to himself here. This is interesting. In the Bhagavad Gita, he often refers to the Lord or the Supreme Person as in third person. He's talking about himself as the... But here he's describing the function or the activities of the Supersoul. Not completely. That'll be more detailed in the 15th chapter. But upadrashta and umanta. Not just observing, but also permitting. In other words, it says... He's observing your desires, but it says, he's in full contact. He understands our consciousness completely. Says you're not eligible to enjoy in this way, Rather, you have some suffering coming. So he's controlling all that also. So the upadrashta, he's seeing everything, but it's important to know he's ultimately our best friend. He's the friend, the two birds in the tree. There's that analogy, probably it's in the Upanishads, but there's also a verse in the 11th canto that describes that. So the tree is the tree of the body, you see? And there's two birds. There's the enjoying bird, that's the soul, the individual soul, and the super soul, who's not enjoying the fruits. He's just observing the individual soul and hoping and trying to encourage that bird will turn away from trying to enjoy these fruits and stay and listen to him and start taking his instruction. So that's going on. So he's the Bharta, the Bhokta, Maheshwara. Ultimately, he is the ultimate enjoyer. That's what the Bhokta means, right? We learned that at the end of chapter 5. Bhoktaram yagitapasang sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gatvam shantam richati. The one who knows these things attains real peace. That I am the ultimate enjoyer, Bhoktaram, of all sacrifices, all penances and austerities, Yagdavasa. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the supreme controller of all the creation, all the universes, everything, you see. So that's kind of almost like a Christian view, right? Yes, okay, very good. But no, he doesn't say, then you have to fear me, otherwise I'll send you to hell. No, that's not our contempt. Suridam sarvabhutanam. I am the Surit. I am your ever well-wisher of every living entity. Now, many living entities, they're in subhuman bodies or animalistic human bodies, and then they can't really hear the good instruction. So he'll give them the remembrance and the forgetfulness of what they wanted to do and everything, and he's observing, you see. But he comes outside because he's our friend. He's the Surit. Well, it doesn't do them any good if they're just entangled in this world. So he comes outside as the spiritual master, as the book, as the Shastra, like the Bhagavad Gita, trying to enlighten us. But there has to be some mechanism, some way in which we become receptive to the message. And that's why in this age, the chanting is so basic. Because even someone who is a total atheist, but you get caught up. Nice drumming. I'm sorry, I should have given you the drum. From now on, he's the official drummer. Don't set it up here. He's staying here. You're both living here, right? Or did you? They're set up in the lounge. It's a very good addition. So, the chanting itself is attractive. I'm thinking of the Polish tour. Have you ever been on the Polish tour or seen videos of it? It's so, Indra Maharaj. So he has so many devotees in there, and they have a procession in some town they come to. So in front, he has these very nicely decked out ladies. They're doing the chanting and the dancing in front. Well, who's not going to be attracted, But they're hearing the holy name, and the beat is going on, the music, books are going out, And so what was first as they would get challenged, because it's Catholic, Polish is a lot of Catholic, So when they first started it, they would have some hooligans come and try to stop them, but now people are very happy to see them, because after all these years, it's been 25, 30 years, he's been doing this. So that's the great attraction of Lord Chaitanya's movement, that even on a material level, it's attractive. And if you get caught up in the chanting and you hear, then you become, and you go through some experience, then you want to hear, what was that all about? And then you'll be apt to hear the philosophy. And that was Prabhupada's genius. The chanting and a little philosophy, more chanting and prasadam. That was at the 26th Second Avenue. He didn't have hour-long, maybe half an hour, something. So, anyway. So, Dehisman Purashakpara. So the Super Soul, he's speaking in third person again here, not saying I, He's present here. And Prabhupada is making it, the whole first paragraph is distinction between the Atma and the Paramatma. This is again, so the Mayavadis, it's all one. No, it's not all one. So we're all part and parcel of the Lord, and both of them are interrelated. I think we fixed that. To say both of them are related. That is one place that Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda met in Jagannath Puri, and they both embraced each other. No. That's totally redundant. If you just say they embrace each other, doesn't that say they both embraced each other? So that's what I think we did here. You have that. The thing is that both often means both often means it's the two of them, or this they is enough. They embraced each other says it all. They both embraced. Anyway, I don't want to get into an editing thing here, but so Prabhupada is making the distinction between the Atma and the Paramatma. We're all part and parcel of the Lord. Now, there's this one passage, just to bring it all home. Second canto, it describes, I think it's the third chapter, these famous verses. There's a whole, I don't want to say laundry list, maybe a shopping list of if you want good health, worship the sun god. If you want a good wife, worship Lakshmi, I think. And there's a whole list of if you want a strong body, sex, you worship Indra. It goes on and on and on like that. But then eventually he's saying, akama sarvakama va moksha kama daradi. So whether you are free of desire, or you want moksha, moksha, akama sarva. If you don't want no material desire or all material desires, or you want moksha, it's someone who's intelligent, udaradi, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. One should with intensely, with fervor and intention, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param, should worship the Supreme Person like that. So then he describes in that purport, it's a very important verse, akama sarvakama. What does it mean to be desireless, akama? You see? It doesn't mean literally to be without any desire. It means that your only desire is to please God. You see? And Prabhupada quotes this little phrase, he says this from the Sandarbhas, I haven't been able to locate yet, from Jiva Goswami. But it is a, let me put this on, quiet. He says, Bhajaniya Parama Purusha Sukha Matra Swasukatvam. Now, some of you, most of you hopefully, are familiar with this critical verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma dyanavratam anukulyena Krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttama. This comes right near the beginning of the book, and it defines the whole goal of the book, which is pure devotion. So that means anya abhilashita means free from all other desires other than to please Krishna. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Shunyam means devoid. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyana. Then he gives samples of what kind of the different categories of other desires. Jnana, that means basically impersonal, to merge into the absolute and be liberated. Oh, I'm liberated, I'm in the Brahman, that's jnana. And karma, that's this ordinary karmic desires, sense gratification. And then if you have some other category you want to add, adi, whatever else you come up with, that's personally dedicated, I want to enjoy in this way, that's why we're here, false ego. Anavritam, not covered, not impeded by any kind of material desire. This is what this book is about. This is what he's saying. Anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. And means always acting favorably, shilanam is a behavior or activity, for Krishna's interests. Anukulyena Krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. This is supreme bhakti. Now, you can't just jump up to that platform. That's the end goal, you see, of the bhakti marga, of the path. So we have to go through the different stages. and accepting rules and regulations, giving up the four regular principles, all these things, the do's and the don'ts. But it's a path. But if you have faith in the goal, because you have an exemplar, this is why it's so important to have association of a pure devotee. Now, these days we can also associate through media. We have, and I highly recommend, there are so many recorded lectures of Srila Prabhupada. To hear a realized soul saying you should try to go back to Godhead is much more potent than me telling you. I can repeat Prabhupada, but you can hear Prabhupada's voice and him saying it with utter conviction. It affects you more. So take advantage of that. If you're interested, I can give you 1,000 lectures. It's free. You can download it. It's part of the database. It's all free, available. So, besides this living entity, there's another enjoyer who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, is known as the Supersoul. So understanding the Supersoul and seeing, through the eyes of Shastra, that he's present in every living being, even the insects and the birds and all that. They call it instinct. How do they know how to fly? They break out of the shell, and in a day or half a day, they're already practically flying. Where did that knowledge come from? From the Supersoul. It's called instinct. All of these things are going on. So Krishna, but mostly, Krishna really wants us to come back to him, and therefore we can use our consciousness, our memory, our intelligence, which is right next to the Supersoul, by being guided by the Supersoul. And that's what we're doing by reading these purports and reading Srila Prabhupada's translations. So any discussion on these two verses, they're critical. Okay, let's go on. Text 24. Yeah. Ya evam veti purusham prakatim chagunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasabuyo bijayate. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Purport. Clear understanding of material nature, the supersoul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By his personal endeavor, in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding the Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the Personality of Godhead. Then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. Then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transferred into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Okay, they seem. Oh, that is a semicolon. I look at it looks like a comma. It is a semicolon. So now he's winding up, and the chapter began with these questions from Arjuna. What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? What is this material energy? All these different things. And Krishna systematically answered them. But it's not that we just want to, find out. It's a matter of curiosity, or we'll take a test on it in school or something. This is life-transforming knowledge. If we understand who we are. Remember, that's the first question of Sanatana Goswami when he surrenders unto Lord Chaitanya. He's also, he's born in a Brahmin family and everything, but he got diverted and be a servant of the Nawab Hussain. So when Lord Chaitanya came to Ramkeli, he saved them, Rupa and Sanatan. And they surrendered to him, and Rupa, I don't know if he composed it on the spot. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Badayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tujay Namaha. It's such an important verse. I offer my obeisance to the most munificent avatar. It's important that munificent means one who gives, is very generous. Magnanimous, Prabhupada sometimes uses magnanimous, especially known for forgiving, and munificent for giving. You see the difference? So one can be very munificent and magnanimous at the same time, but they're distinct. So Lord Chaitanya was both. The forgiving, Jai and Vijay, munificent, is giving the greatest treasure in existence, pure love for Krishna. Forget the billions of dollars. I mean, I remember growing up before I joined. It's a long time back. Bill Gates, right, with the billions he was making. And you think, boy, I wish I could do that. But you chant Hare Krishna for a while, saying, I don't, billions of dollars. That's going to be a big load around my neck. It's such an illusion, this material pleasure. It comes and it goes, and then what happens? Okay, I've got these hundreds of billions of dollars. I'm going to be the first trillionaire. Okay, what happens when the body goes? What's going to happen then? Where's all the trillions come? Stays here, and who knows where you're going, right? I shudder to think. So, but if we can steadily, cultivate Krishna consciousness with our life through association. Sama satam prasangan mama virya sambhito. Right? In Kapila's teachings to his mother, he has his 8 verses about the sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangashtaka, 8 verses. So it makes a full lesson. In the middle of them, so first he describes what is the real sadhu. His famous verse, Tatikshava karunika suridak sarvadehina majata shatta bhakshanta sadhu bhaksada bhushana. Now note that verse, there's nothing mentioned about bhakti. That's in the next verse, how he comes to be a sadhu. So the sadhu is, first of all, tolerant. You have to develop that tolerance because this world is full of so many ups and downs. And at the same time, karunika, merciful. So if you're going to preach, you have to be tolerant. Prabhupada gives the example of Jesus Christ. Every time I take that morning walk, I pass by the church, Bridget's Catholic church up here. And oftentimes I'll have one door open in the front. And you can look in there, and there you can see Jesus on the cross. They have him in the front there. So I went by and said, Haribo, But, so that, the thing is, so he's describing the sadhu, and it doesn't mention bhakti in that particular verse. He's very tolerant, he's very compassionate, he's a friend of all living entities, including the cows, including the trees, Ajata Shattara has no enmity toward anyone. We just finished reading about Ambarish and Durvasa. Incredible story, And Ambarish was this king who had all facilities for enjoyment, but he didn't use it. Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo, his mind was on Krishna, his words are being used for Krishna, his hands, he's washing them, his tongue, he's tasting the Tulsi Manjaris. Everything is Krishna, 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 Krishna. And anyway, Durvasa becomes envious, He's a great yogi, powerful yogi. So he engineers this thing with Ekadashi, breaking Ekadashi. There's a certain time interval when you're supposed to break it, And they give it on it. We try to meet that. But Ambarish was very strict, And he'd been practicing Ekadashi very strictly. So this Durvasa comes just before the break fast. He's a great yogi, he's a Brahmin, and this is the king, he's a Kshatriya, so the Kshatriyas should honor the guests who come, especially Brahmins. So that means you don't take breakfast before you offer them to take breakfast with you. But here he was, he was taking a bath first because he'd been traveling, But he purposely, hung out in the water until the time the breaking was over. So that was going on, and Durvasa didn't know what to do. So he suggested he took some counsel from his Brahmins, but they didn't know what to say. So maybe I'll just take a little water. That's not really breaking the fast. He said, oh, sure, he won't mind. So Durvasa focused on, oh, you committed this great offense. I'll teach you a lesson. He creates this kritya. Now, I'm not going to, Prabhupada says it's a demon, so it's a demon. Just fire, a body completely afire, and one mission to just burn whoever he wanted to burn. So he comes at Durvasa, at Ambarish, but he's this Like Prahlad. You know, Prahlad wasn't freaking out. Oh no, you're going to throw me anything but the boiling oil. Ah! No, he wasn't like that. Whatever you want to do, throw me in the boiling oil. You know, he said, Om Namo, right? We know what he did. He's got the movie. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Did he ever look worried? No. Anyway, so that's the same thing with Durvasa. He just keeps praying. Well, if it's my time, you know, Hare Krishna. So this chakra, which had been given to him, you know, came immediately without him calling him anything, and annihilated that kritya, burned to ashes, the fire personified. I don't know how it worked, but it finished. And started going after Durvasa. Now Durvasa, he's this great yogi, but he doesn't, you know, he's scared stiff. He said, oh, the chakra, please, you know, I'll go into the Brahma Jyoti or whatever, you know. No. He started running. He went to Shiva, run to Brahma, and I can't help you, it's the chakra, Sudarshan. So he goes to Vishnu, and what does Vishnu say? I think I told this last time. I can't help you either. I'm completely under the control of my devotees. Aham bhakta paradino, nasvatantra. Svatantra means independent. He's saying, I'm not independent, I'm controlled by my devotees' love. You know, sadhavo vidiyam mayam, sadhunam vidiyam taham. All I know is the sadhus, the devotees, and all I know is me, like that. So that basically says, if you want to be saved, go back down there to Ambarish and get his mercy. You know, so he ran down, chakra's coming behind him. And he says, please, you know, so Ambarish said, of course, you know, please, Chakra, you don't believe him. So at that point, Durvasa saw that he had a change of heart. And it turns out, you know, we just read today, you know, he appreciated, and then to top it all off, that was a whole year. He was going here and there, he went up to his planets, and it was a year. And Ambarish was still waiting for his guests to come. He didn't eat anything for a whole year. He just prayed, yes. So finally Durvasa started glorifying. He said, oh, you're such a great devotee, like that. And Durvasa became, you know, and so he finally had a change of heart. But the idea is that from this, you know, perfection of devotion, even though he was the king, didn't matter. He wasn't enjoying of anything. You know, the facilities of a king. He was simply, everything he was doing, every breath, well, the facility was engaged in devotional service. So he was at a very, very high level. So that's the idea that, you know, if we understand the philosophy, we just read that, right? 24? Then by our knowledge, this is the whole thing, that our knowledge needs to then inform our activities. The mind needs to be focused on Krishna intelligence and take this philosophy, discussing it, you know, and absorbing ourselves, and then conform our activities to what we've learned. That's the hard part, because we're conditioned to be, you know, karmis. So that's, yes, there's a path, and that's why liberation, which is not ultimately the goal of the devotees. Right? Nandanam, Nandanam, the Sundarim. We want to be engaged full time in Christian devotional service, whether here, there, anywhere. But that desire for liberation can be a good impetus for us to get on the path and be serious. And gradually we become less interested in that. And we become like Bilba Mangal Thakur. Well, you know, I quoted this verse, I think, this morning or last class, which is Bhaktis Tvahis Tidatara Bhagavanya Disya Daivena Nakapalati Divya Kishora Murti. So in the first line he says, this is right near the end of the Karnamrita, it says, if one is firmly fixed in your devotion, O Lord. Now he can't see, but he's seeing within his you know, eye, his spiritual vision. O Lord, if one is firmly fixed in your devotion, Bhaktis Tvahis Tidatara, Tidatara means firm. Bhagavan or Bhagavan, Yadi, that if, then you'll get the fruit of that. What is that, liberation? No. Daivena Nakapalati Divya Kishora Murti. The fruit is a vision of your beautiful adolescent form, you see, which he's experiencing at every moment, not with his physical eyes, but with his spiritual eyes. Then what about Mukti? Mukti Swayam Mukulitanjali Sevatesman. She's waiting at the door there with the Anjali. This is, how can I serve you? We know Pushpanjali? It's like you keep your flowers in there, when the time comes you put. So this Anjali, so Mukti wants to serve me. In other words, you don't worry about her, she'll do when the time comes. And then what about dharma, artha, and kama, the other three? Oh, dharma, artha, kama, gata, yaksama, yakpatiksha. They're also waiting whatever I need in the dharma and kama, some sense gratification, nice Sunday feast, yes, you can have, So in other words, everything is there from bhakti, and you can become disentangled. Okay, so it's a little late, and if there's no discussions or questions, we should have a poem. Okay. I actually ended this morning class with a poem too, because maybe I'll just do it at every class. So, I have it here, but I can't do much. This is the 2001 Janmashtami. They call it a community yearbook. They call it here. This describes how wonderfully Brajamandala Dasi has been serving so many years, he's here. And a beautiful article by Ashram Maharaj, then known as Prabhu, about surrendering to Krishna. And a very nice article by Gunagrai Maharaj about how this temple came to be. So I'm going to loan this to Dvijamani. He wanted me to send him the article. I said, I don't have it in digital form, but I'll loan you the book. And maybe we'll, make it available to. Maybe they still have it in the archives. I don't know. But then I was surprised to find a poem in here by Dravida Dasa. I said in 2000. I didn't know I was writing that far back, so I'll read you that poem. At least some of it. Now here we go. The Nandananashtaka, from the Govinda Lilamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, poeticized by Dravida Dasa. His dark complexion mocks, I don't have to read it. His dark complexion mocks mascara, sapphires, and the blackish cloud. His garments shine like reddish rising sun with lightning bolts endowed. With sandal paste enhanced with camphor are his handsome limbs replete. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. I'm going to have to read it. I know the one to Radha by heart, but not this one. Upon his cheeks his shark-shaped earrings dance with quintessential grace. The pride of countless moons and lotus blooms is shattered by his face. The gopis bind his heart with hidden love that's perfect and complete. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. His loving pastimes, youthful form, and gorgeous dress are always new. His coward friends delight him with their playful tricks and joking too. His splendid pleasure grows, make Indra's Nandana accept defeat. Nandana Kanana, May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. Their hearts aglow with golden praying, his friends and kin expand his joy. The universal rulers bow their heads before that cowherd boy. He daily honors learned, truthful Brahmins free of all conceit. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. King Indra's wrath and Kaliya's, and Kamsa's life and Vatsa's too, he crushed with these, thus raining down heroic pastimes ever new. Like Chattikas, his devotees are nourished by that torrent sweet. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. His rasa dance in sylvan groves delights Sri Radha and her friends, who drink the nectar of his clever joking play, which never ends. The glory of his loving sports fills all the worlds with joy complete. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. His rasa dance displays intense devotion of the purest kind, his charming wondrous form and dress, enchanting Cupid's mind. His glances at the gopis hint at ecstasy supremely sweet. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. As Radha gathered flowers, Krishna touched her, and he felt desire and jubilation as he saw her face adorned with loving ire. Hari becomes the sandal paste on Radha's heart whene'er they meet. May none the sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. Now, here's the benefit of chanting this. Exalted goddesses like Lakshmi Devi rarely ever see Sri Radha's lover Madhava. But if a humble devotee recites these verses, then Sri Radha cause and joy of Sri Hari will pour the nectar of his service down on him eternally. There you go. So this is all available in my poetry file. Just send it to Dravida108 at Gmail. Huh? I have it available. Just send me an email and say, poetry, please, and boom, you can have it. All right, we better get ready for Artik. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.